Backpackers are being offered the chance to stay in Australia for longer if they help with the bushfire recovery effort.
Live now to political reporter Trudy McIntosh, who joins us from Canberra. Trudy, take us through the Morrison government's plan.
Well, Pete, backpackers who volunteer to help with this bushfire recovery effort, things like rebuilding fences and helping on farms, will be able to extend their stay in Australia if they would like to. It's designed by the government to really help try and reboost tourism in these areas that have been now declared disaster zones and help with that massive task which is rebuilding after these bushfires. The Acting Immigration Minister Alan Tudge has announced these series of changes today. It would allow these backpackers to remain with one employer for up to a year. The current cap on that had been 6 months, and this volunteering time will now be able to be used towards the second and third year of their visas. It's a welcome change by charity groups. They have been advocating behind the scenes to the government to make these changes. They say they have been simply inundated with backpackers who would like to stay and help with the fires.
And Trudy, open warfare in the coalition over the prospect of a net zero emissions target by 2050. A lot of difference of opinion here. I'm sure it will be a fiery party room when they come around to this one.
Yeah, there's certainly no sign of this fight over the policy, at least, dying down anytime soon. Nationals MPs really strident over the weekend, coming out in opposition to this plan. It's something that the business community has supported, net zero emissions by 2050. It also has the support of the Conservative UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who will be pushing global leaders to do more on this later in the year at a global conference. But in terms of these Nationals, they are very clear today that they do not want to see this policy adopted by the Morrison government.
Well, zero emissions by 2050 is not on the agenda. And I don't want to see industry and factories sent offshore. I don't want to lose Australian jobs. I don't want to kill the Australian economy.
You may as well ask me if I want to dress elephants in pink polka dots. That's not a policy that we have. But as I said, backbenchers are entitled to their view, as I was as a backbencher. It's not the government's position. We are doing exactly what we said we would at the election.
Now, it may not be the government's policy for now, but if the moderate Liberals get their way, it would be.
I'd like to get to net zero before that if we can. The question is, what are the costs and what are the plans that you need to have in place to do that?
Is this something you are going to take to the Prime Minister?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're committed to the Paris Agreement, which says that we need to get to net zero in the second half of this century. So that's the thing that the government is definitely committed to. And as I say, we'd like to get there soon.
Now, it's a pretty big divide in the party for the Prime Minister here. We've got the Conservatives on one side and the moderates on the other. For his own view, he has been asked about this, Scott Morrison, and he has said if it hurts local jobs, it's not something he'd consider committing to.